Behind this news breaking in the last hour that Diane Keaton, who began a career on Broadway in the 1960s and starred on the silver screen for more than 50 years or so, has passed away aged 79.
The news of Diane Keaton's death on October 11th, 2025, struck Hollywood like a thunderclap. One of the most cherished stars of her generation was gone at the age of 79. Fans, friends, and fellow actors around the world were stunned, mourning not just an icon, but a woman whose presence had shaped decades of cinema. Diane Keaton wasn't just an actress, she was a force. With unforgettable performances in Annie Hall and The Godfather, she became a defining figure of American film. But in the quiet space that followed her passing, something else emerged. A truth she had carried for years about a love story that lasted 15 years, hidden behind the polished surface of Hollywood. A story that tied her name forever to another legend, Al Pacino. In her final reflections, Diane spoke openly about the years she spent by Al's side, the love, the struggles, the heartbreak, and the reason he never married her. They were two brilliant souls, bound by something deep, yet pulled apart by time, choices, and the kind of wounds that never truly fade. And if you love stories like this, those rare glimpses behind the curtain of Hollywood's brightest stars, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the real stories behind the legends.
The story started in 1971 at a casting party in Harlem, New York. Diane Keaton was still a young actress then, unknown to the world, full of nerves and excitement. She had just been cast as Kay Adams in The Godfather, a film even its own creators weren't sure would succeed. That night, across the room, she saw him for the first time. Al Pacino, eyes sharp, voice low and rough, smile boyish yet mysterious. He had a presence that felt impossible to ignore. Diane stood quietly, watching him, her heart skipping in a way she didn't fully understand. She's a brilliant madman, she thought. There was something about the way he moved, animated, full of wild gestures, a childlike intensity wrapped in an adult body. Al, then 31, was fighting to hold on to the role of Michael Corleone, a part that would forever define his career. The spark between them was immediate, silent, but undeniable. On set, their connection grew in small, subtle ways. Quick glances between takes, short conversations in quiet corners, long, nervous nights spent wondering whether the film would be a disaster. They'd find each other at the end of exhausting days, sitting in a Manhattan bar, laughing away the pressure. "If this movie flops," Al teased one night, eyes glinting, "what happens to us next, Diane?" She only smiled, but inside something caught fire. She loved how he spoke with endless passion, how his dedication to his craft made the world around him disappear. But Diane, shy and cautious, tucked her feelings away, keeping them safe and hidden like a fragile treasure. The early days on the set of The Godfather felt like a strange, unforgettable dream. Diane and Al shared the kind of quiet moments that speak louder than words, fleeting glances, small smiles, and quick conversations snatched between long hours of filming. They worried together too. Neither of them knew if this ambitious film would succeed or crumble. After long, draining days, they would often find themselves side by side in a dimly lit Manhattan bar, sharing a drink, trying to push away the weight of their uncertain future. "If it all falls apart, what do we do then?"
Al asked one night, half teasing, half serious. His tone was light, but his eyes carried something deeper. Diane didn't answer with words. She just smiled. Inside, a quiet warmth began to grow. She loved how he told stories, how fully he lived inside his art. Al made her feel seen without needing to say much at all. But at the time, their bond was still a quiet current beneath the surface, unspoken and fragile. Diane held her feelings close, unsure whether to reach out or keep them safely hidden. 3 years later, in 1974, their paths crossed again on the set of The Godfather Part 2. By then, both of them had grown, not just as actors, but as people. The spark that had once been silent had become a quiet fire waiting for the right moment. One evening after filming, Al invited Diane to a small Manhattan restaurant. The lighting was soft, the wine deep red, and the air heavy with the kind of quiet that feels almost sacred. He looked at her differently that night, his eyes softer, his voice lower. "Diane, do you know how special you are?" he said, the words carrying a weight she hadn't expected. Her cheeks grew warm, her heart pounded, and in that single moment, something shifted between them. They spoke long into the night, not just about acting or the industry, but about their dreams, fears, and the little things that made them laugh. From that night on, they began a private romance, quiet and personal. Far from red carpets and flashing cameras, their love wasn't built on spectacle. It lived in the everyday. Evenings spent in Diane's California apartment with Al stretched out on the couch, talking about theater. Walks along the beach, sharing their favorite books, arguing about films. By the 1980s, Diane's career was thriving, but her heart wanted more than applause. She longed for a home, a family, and commitment. Al, on the other hand, was a free spirit who moved through life without roots. When she brought up the future, he often brushed it off with a half-joking line, "I don't know how to be a husband." Their relationship became a familiar rhythm. Breakups followed by passionate reunions. Al would show up at her door unexpectedly, wine in hand and that mischievous grin. She loved him deeply, but always felt the distance, like chasing something she could never fully hold. In 1989, a letter arrived from Rome. On hotel stationery, Al had written just a few words, "Diane, I love you forever." For Diane, it was a rare, vulnerable glimpse of the man she loved. But she also knew his forever didn't mean marriage. It was the love of an artist, intense, beautiful, but never meant to settle. Their divide was clear. She craved stability, while Al belonged to the wind. As whispers of Al's closeness to other women grew, Diane tried to hold on. She stood by him during serious financial troubles, quietly helping when his fortune nearly disappeared due to reckless spending and a fraudulent accountant. One evening, in a quiet cafe, Al finally said, "You're the only one who never leaves me." It was one of the rare moments she saw the man behind the legend. But even loyalty couldn't bridge the gap between what she wanted and what he couldn't give. By 1990, during The Godfather Part 3, Diane knew she couldn't wait any longer. "Al, either we get married or this ends," she told him one night. His silence was the answer. Diane walked away, not out of anger, but out of heartbreak. Their split was quiet, but final. At later events, they kept their distance. she'd see that same smile from across the room and feel a familiar ache. She never hated him, though. She kept the letter from Rome as a reminder, not of loss, but of a love that once burned brightly. After their split, Diane and Al became little more than polite strangers. At Godfather events, they avoided each other, careful not to reopen old wounds. She built her life of her own, adopting Dexter and Duke in the 2000s, creating a warm, quiet family. Al continued his own path, with relationships including Beverly D'Angelo and Lucilla Sola, and became a father of 4. In 2023, at 83, he welcomed another son, Roman, with Noor al-Falah. Despite the years, their shared past never faded. In his memoir, Sonny Boy, Al looked back on their 15-year relationship, calling it a rhythm that felt just right. He described Diane not just as a lover, but a companion who brought him peace during chaos. He never forgot how she stood by him through his darkest financial years, helping him find his footing again. For Diane, memories of their time together were quietly preserved in her home, a corner with books, photos, and a framed picture of Al. She'd glance at it sometimes, smiling softly, sometimes with a touch of sadness. In the last months of her life, Diane's health declined rapidly. She lived quietly, surrounded by family and close friends, avoiding public appearances. She often spoke about her struggles with eating disorders and skin health, honest about the battles behind the smile. Over a 5-decade career, she collected numerous honors, including an Oscar, Golden Globe nominations, and the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017. Diane Keaton never married, but built a life filled with meaning, raising her 2 children, embracing her love of animals, and pursuing creativity until the end. In 2025, she even released her first single, fulfilling a late-life dream. After her passing, tributes poured in from stars like Bette Midler, Steve Martin, and Goldie Hawn, celebrating her as an actress, fashion icon, and loyal friend. In her later interviews, Diane admitted she never fully let go of Al Pacino. His presence lingered like a soft echo in her heart, not as regret, but as something rare and unfinished. For her, he was the love of a chapter. Their story wasn't wrapped in a bow. It didn't end with a wedding, but with quiet, enduring affection, a feeling that shaped the woman behind the legend. Diane Keaton's life was one of bold choices, quiet strength, and timeless artistry. Her love story with Al Pacino remains one of Hollywood's most whispered and cherished romances, not for its fairy tale ending, but for its honesty. What do you think? Was it love or a deep companionship that never needed a label? Share your thoughts below, and if you love uncovering the hidden stories of Hollywood's legends, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more.